Question number 20 says, without graphing, use your knowledge of linear quadratic equations to determine whether each system has no solutions, one solution, or two solutions, or an infinite number. So we need to kind of visualize what the graphs look like. So for A, we are looking at a quadratic linear system that potentially has two solutions. So if we know what that graph looks like, we know that we have a quadratic and a linear equation with slope 1 that has a y-intercept of 1, and we know that visually that's going to have two solutions. So knowing this, we can solve for two solutions. We could also potentially rewrite this as a quadratic equation, making x squared equal to x plus 1, and then we can test the discriminant. Okay, so the discriminant here would be the b value, the discriminant is b squared minus 4ac, and we want to see if it's less than 0, bigger than 0, so we're going to get negative 1 squared minus 4 times a times c, and we know that that's going to be greater than 0 because we have 1 plus 4, so we know it's positive. So again, we can say that there's two solutions based on that as well. So we could do this as a discriminant problem. We could also do this visually by just understanding what basically the graphs look like. For question B, we can do the same thing. We can take a look at that graph. We know that that graph has a y-intercept of 3 and it's kind of narrow and opening up. We know that this graph has a y-intercept, the linear equation has a y-intercept of negative 5, and it has a steeper graph of negative 2, but because of that, where that graph intersects the y-axis, and the fact that the quadratic has increasing slope as it goes along the curve, we know that this should have 0 solutions. Again, we could test this by writing the quadratic equation. Okay, the visual is definitely going to be a little bit easier to do and quicker to do, but the discriminant also allows us to determine how many solutions. So we end up with 2x squared plus 2x plus 8 equals 0. We can factor out the 2 if we like, but we can put that into the discriminant as well. So we get 2 squared minus 4 times a times c, and we can see that we end up with 4 minus, in this case, 64, and we know that that is less than 0, therefore 0 solutions based on the discriminant.